Lebanese and American officials are speaking optimistically about reaching an agreement to an end to the war in Lebanon. And on the other hand, the United States presidential race heats up. Kamala Harris mobilizes voters, while Trump's remarks provoke backlash and reshape dynamics. Welcome to In Focus. Amid optimistic American talk about a deal to end the war within days, officially Lebanon is awaiting the Israeli response to the effort led by US President Joe Biden to reach a ceasefire in Lebanon by sending his advisors Amos Hochstein and Brett McGurk to Tel Aviv to meet with the Israeli Prime Minister. Meanwhile, Israel continues to intensify attacks in different parts of Lebanon, and the humanitarian crisis is continuing to deteriorate. Axios has reported, citing two U.S. officials with direct knowledge of the issue, that negotiations for a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah have made significant progress, but the Biden administration hasn't reached a final agreement with either Israel or Lebanon. According to the report, Israeli and U.S. officials said that the United States agreed to give Israel a letter with a United States commitment to support Israeli military action in Lebanon in case there are violations of the agreement or threats by Hezbollah that the Lebanese army or UNIFIL don't address. The draft letter says that the U.S. commits to appoint a senior U.S. military officer and a senior U.S. national security official to share monitoring mechanism. According to the draft letter, the United States recognizes that Israel may choose to act against violations if the Lebanese military and UNIFIL failed to do so. The United States wants the letter to state that it would be consulted on any Israeli strike in Lebanon and that the attack would avoid civilian casualties to the maximum extent possible. And for a more in-focused, detailed discussion of the latest developments in Lebanon, we have from Beirut, Ms. Myrna Radwan, a journalist, author. A very warm welcome, and it's a pleasure to have you with us on the show.
Good evening. Thank you.
Ms. Radwan, Lebanon's caretaker Prime Minister Naguib Mikati said that a ceasefire was possible before United States elections. Do you see the official talk about the imminence of reaching an agreement as mere optimism, or is it well-founded, especially in light of the continued Israeli escalation that's happening now?
Yes. Sorry, you were asking about Naim Qasim's speech.
No, ma'am, I'll ask you the question again, Ms. Myrna. Lebanon's caretaker Minister Naguib Mikati said that a ceasefire was possible before the United States elections, before next Tuesday. Do you see the official talk about the imminence of reaching an agreement as if he is very optimistic about this, or is it well-founded, especially in light of the continued Israeli escalation?
Yes, our Lebanese Prime Minister Naguib Mikati said that he had not believed a deal would be possible until after Tuesday's U.S. presidential election. But he also said that he became more optimistic after speaking today with the U.S. envoy for the Middle East, Amos Hochstein, who's traveling, as you know, traveling to Israel by tomorrow. So Hochstein, during his call with the Prime Minister, suggested that he could reach an agreement before the end of the month and before November 5th. So we hopefully...
But he's still optimistic about reaching a ceasefire. How do you read this, and what's your motive on this and your take on the idea? Do you think that a ceasefire is imminent and a ceasefire could take place under the conditions that Israel are, of course, finalizing the deal with?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you well.
Okay. I go on to ask you another question, which is Israel demands that the deal includes an implementation mechanism not entrusted to UNIFIL, in addition to freedom to act militarily to prevent the rearming of Hezbollah. How do you evaluate such conditions? Are they applicable from your own perspective?
As we all heard, Mr. Naim Qassem, the new General Secretary of Hezbollah, he had a long speech, the longest speech, to answer the claims directed to Hezbollah for its conduct, mainly domestically. Qassem asked for patience from the Hezbollah supporters and their people, despite the difficult situation and the severe setbacks. The important point in his speech was, or the difference was, that he did not link Hezbollah to Gaza, and instead he focused on the terms acceptable to them for a political settlement with a ceasefire at the top.
Okay, Hezbollah Chief Naim Qassem said, if the Israelis stop the aggression, Hezbollah will accept a ceasefire, but according to conditions that it deems suitable, conditions that are appropriate with Hezbollah. What could be Hezbollah's conditions from your own perspective, and what might be the Israeli response to these conditions?
Yes, they think that Israel, what they say now, that Israel repeated what they did in 1978 and in 1982, when Hezbollah still didn't exist.
Perfect.
So they believe. Yes.
Continue.
Sorry? Yes. So what Qassem tried to say, that the resistance of Hezbollah succeed. He's the only one succeed that in expelling Israel from our lands. So what he was trying to say now. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, of course, I'm with you. Continue what you're saying.
Okay. Now he was concerning the resolution 1701. He asked what was the outcome since from July 2006 until October 2023, as he said, 17 years, the Israel continued to aggress Lebanon daily. And they saw that the Lebanese army or UN and even the UN emergency force couldn't do anything, just gathering and informations, collecting footage, and monitoring their movements.
Okay, Mr. Radwan, considering that you mentioned the resolution 1701 in your answer now, Parliament Speaker Nabih Berri said Lebanon is not willing to change even a single letter in the resolution 1701, adding that American mediator did not mention resolution 1559 or the replacement of UNIFIL. How do you view such statements, and how do you expect the Israeli reactions towards them at this point?
Let me mention something was wrong. the resolution 1701 included the resolution 1559.
No,
Okay,
she's
so-
Miss Mirna.
Yes.
The statement was that he will not be willing to change a single letter in the resolution 1701, adding that the American mediator did not mention, the American mediator is the person that did not mention 1559 or the replacement or of the UNIFIL. It's not that that the resolution 1559 is not in the resolution
Yes,
1701.
Yes, yes. Israel wants to add maybe some maybe they want to edit 1701 to make sure that there is a complete they can control the zone with the Hezbollah or the with Lebanon.
Okay,
So,
Ms. Mirna, thank you very much for your valuable insights, and we wish, of course, all the best for a ceasefire as soon as possible. And that was Mirna Radwan, a journalist and author. Thank you very much for joining us. And we move on to the other topic as the U.S. presidential race intensifies. Candidates are responding dynamically to voter engagement. Kamala Harris is mobilizing voters amid increasing tensions. Trump's controversial remarks ignite backlash, shaping a complex electoral landscape. Stay tuned for more analysis.
We will build what I call an opportunity economy.
We will make America great.
We're ready to fight for it. As one people, we are moving forward.
We will make America safe again.
Le Monde has reported that the concept of the American working class is increasingly complex as traditional industries wane and union influence diminishes. Despite this, working class voters remain pivotal in elections, with Kamala Harris emphasizing labor victories in Pittsburgh, a historic union stronghold. Donald Trump, on the other side, seeks to leverage working class support, notably receiving endorsements from local steel workers. The dual engagement highlights the ongoing importance of the blue-collar voters, especially in swing states like Pennsylvania, where past elections have shown narrow margins. While blue-collar workers constitute a small segment of the workforce today, their political impact remains significant, especially among white working-class voters who played a crucial role in Trump's 2016 victory. Providing more analysis regarding the latest updates of the United States elections, joining us from Washington is Mindy Walker, a former White House advisor and Republican strategist, and Joelle Rubin, a former State Department advisor. Well, a very warm welcome to our program, and it's our pleasure to have you with us. We start off with Ms. Walker. Given Trump's recent claims of widespread election fraud in Pennsylvania, How do you assess the Republican Party's strategy to address voter integrity without any evidence or substantial evidence? Okay, we move on to Mr. Rubin. A very warm welcome, sir. Sir, with Vice President Harris actively reaching out to younger voters, what specific initiatives do you think are crucial for mobilizing this demographic ahead of the election?
You and I am in Pittsburgh as well, my hometown where I grew up, and I'm here for the final days of the election. And it's quite an interesting conversation that we're having with young voters. Young voters care deeply about the future of American democracy. They want it to continue. They also care about the long-term issues that the country will need to confront, issues like climate change, issues like gun violence, issues like investing in education and healthcare, and an economy that is there for them as they grow in their professional careers. So this is what they're really talking about. But of course, the one core issue that comes up all the time, especially amongst young women, is the right for those women to make decisions about their own healthcare and their own bodies. And this is the abortion debate. And so young voters are very strongly in favor right now of the Democratic agenda out of a concern that the Republican agenda takes into account what they're hoping the country will look like in the future.
Sir, how do you see the engagement of the young voters and how do you see this is going to add to Kamala Harris's campaign or election, as of course we're waiting for the results of who is going to be on the Oval Table in the White House next Wednesday?
Well, look, historically, there's been this idea in American politics that young people don't vote. But that's different now in the age that is of social media, where young people are highly engaged on issues of concern in the political dialogue. This is not something that we had 20 years ago, and certainly not when I was younger several decades ago. I read the newspaper, but that was it. But now young people under age 18 are very engaged politically. And so they're going to come out and vote. And they're going to come out and vote in numbers that I believe will be unprecedented. And they also, and this is very important, they do not participate in the kind of polling that we see being discussed in public right now. Those pollsters overwhelmingly get likely voters based upon past performance and older voters. So the young vote is not being captured in those polls, and they are coming out strong in early voting, and they'll continue to come out strong on election day, and they are a surprise factor in this coming election.
Amazing, sir. I'll be back again. Ms. Walker, do you believe the controversy surrounding Trump's rallies will affect Republican voter turnout and sentiment in the upcoming election?
I think that the rallies have been invigorating. I love how our American liberal media has gone and accused Trump of being like Hitler and accusing people like me of being Nazis. It wasn't even, Madison Square Garden is not the same Madison Square Garden that the Nazi rally was held in. What I saw was a lot of people who love America. And I think a lot of us are being tired of being called names. I think it's very interesting that my friends, conservative or liberal, have taken issue with what President Trump has said about certain individuals, and yet they are not standing up against an entire party that calls us garbage, deplorables.
It started with Trump. This started in a rally at Trump's campaign, not at Kamala Harris's campaign or at the Republicans' campaign. I'm just justifying the case here. It's none of my business. I just wanted to make clear that when someone was said, it was a comedian that went out and said that Puerto Ricans are floating garbage or whatever he said. I don't really care.
Yes, a comedian, not President Trump, not someone who's
Excuse me, a comedian, not President Trump. A comedian is like a politician, exactly.
President Trump
Leave
has
alone the
called
entire
America a
situation.
garbage can. President
so,
Trump has
and
called
they didn't say that Puerto Ricans were
Mr.
garbage.
Rubin, do you want to say something?
Yeah, President Trump. It's just I understand why my colleague doesn't want to own up to the fact that President Trump has called America a garbage can more than 24 times in the last week, but he has. Kamala Harris has not, and so I hear a lot of huffing and puffing from the Republicans because they're worried about what took place at Madison Square Garden. They understand that the hate speech coming, and it was not just the garbage comment. There were deeply anti-Semitic insults made. There were racist insults made. There are attacks on immigrants made. And I don't think that they should be at all upset that Americans don't want to hear it. Why
That
should
is
Americans have to hear
ridiculous.
hate speech? Why should we?
It's
Why should we have to hear?
ridiculous.
I'm Jewish. I'm Jewish, and I heard a Jewish anti-Semitic remark, and I didn't hear anybody condemn it from that stage. Why should I have to hear that and say nothing in response?
I'm a first generation American. My mother was a Korean citizen when I was born. Just because you like to pick and choose things, I think you should take a look at your party that is not heavily supporting of Israel if you're speaking to anti-Semitic.
That's actually, again, yeah, I'm sorry.
I think
If you're
that
going
you're
to
very
describe Israel, if you're going to
partisan.
describe support for Israel, I think that we can have a long debate about that. But what I'm saying is that when people from a stage attack Jews, Puerto Rico, LGBTQ people, name it, the people who are targets are allowed to say we don't like it.
All you did was try to flip around what I said. The comment was made about Puerto Rico being a garbage state, not that Puerto Ricans were garbage. And yet the current president
Now you're justifying
called
it.
Republicans
You're justifying
and
it.
people
Do
supporting
you think
Trump
that was a good comment?
garbage. I think that
Was
you
that a good?
are
No,
inflaming,
no.
you're fanning the flames, which your party
I'm
has
not.
done
You're
very
the one.
well over the last 10 years.
I'm sorry. The
Again,
victim
Hillary
of the
Clinton
attack.
called us deplorables, and
I'm
you
sorry.
did nothing.
I'm sorry. You're talking
So it's
about
perfectly
something.
fine when you're attacking
you're-
conservatives, calling us racist, homophobes, anti-Semitic, but you can't take your own comments. And I think that's very
So
interesting.
this dialogue is instructive of the problem that we have right now in our politics, which is that one side launches diatribes against another, the other says we don't like it. They're attacked for saying we don't like it. I want to step back for a second and get to the question that was at hand, which is the question about the island of Puerto Rico being described as a floating pile of garbage. I think that's a direct quote. That did not come out of isolation. That was not a one-time statement. That was coming after multiple comments by Donald Trump saying that America is a garbage bin. So at a certain point, people
In the
say
last
enough.
4 years, with your party in control, crime is
Talking
up,
about other
inflation
things.
is
You're
up
not talking about
21%.
Donald Trump and the current campaign.
21% inflation, and you're talking about LGBT.
That's factually inaccurate.
Not being
Inflation
able to afford to live.
Inflation was
That's the real
21%
point.
in 1979. I don't know what you're talking about. The high point was 8.5%. It currently, according to today's
21%
results,
over
is
4 years ago. Don't try.
that's not
when you can't tell the
mathematically
truth,
how
you lie.
that's not how you mathematically assess inflation. And the current rate is 2.1%. I don't know what you're talking about.
You clearly don't.
You're literally making up.
Okay, Ms.
on air.
Walker, with the Pennsylvania judge extending early voting hours and the Supreme Court's recent decisions favoring Republican interests, what do you see as the potential implications for the GOP's electoral strategy in swing states?
Yes, well, I think that the Republicans are very focused on election integrity. Whether or not people believe that there was widespread issues in the last election, many states violated their own constitutions. And so this year, before the election, a lot of organizations have been suing states that have not been as active on election integrity. Pennsylvania being one.
That's a
where
false
the-
claim. I have to say, what was just stated, the viewers need to
Excuse
understand
me.
that no
Excuse
court
me.
agreed with that position.
I'm sorry. Were you asked the question?
It's okay. It's
But I'm not
okay.
gonna
It's
allow
okay if he
falsehoods
answers.
to
It's
be-
okay.
Falsehoods, it's not an answer when it's a lie.
Excuse me. This I love that my colleague loves to lob attacks and speak when I've been asked a question. But I would like to reclaim my time.
I'm not going to
I would like to
allow
reclaim
lies
my
to go
time.
unresponded to.
Okay,
Excuse me.
Mr. Rubin, finally, in light of the recent racist remarks at Trump's rallies, how should the Democratic Party respond to ensure they effectively address racial issues, sir, at this point? And please, we're running out of time, sir.
Do what we're doing, which is building a multiracial coalition and having someone at the top of the ticket who does not engage in racism. That's what we do. That's what the Democratic Party does. And I think that's what the American people understand is different between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, who built a career on race baiting and trying to divide the American people.
Okay, in 10 seconds, sir. And Miss, of course, Mindy Walker, 5 days before the U.S. presidential elections, who do you think will be the winner? As, of course, everything is very tight and the race is very tight, neck to neck.
I believe that Donald Trump will emerge victorious. When we see major newspapers,
Why do you believe?
When we see major newspapers refusing to endorse Kamala Harris,
They were criticized, by the way.
when we see teams,
There's all their subscribers gave up on them.
I'm sorry, am I able to finish the question?
Go ahead.
Liberal newspapers have refused to endorse Kamala Harris. The Teamsters, which are overwhelmingly
okay. Mr. Rubin, your words, please, because I have to wrap up this episode now.
The short of it is Kamala Harris is in a much better position than Donald Trump today. Donald Trump will try to throw up court cases to steal the election from the American people like he did 4 years ago, and they will lose in court like they did 4 years ago. And over time, the true winner will be Kamala Harris. But I will not say that until we see the votes counted and the election, and I believe that we will have a safe, free, and fair election.
On behalf, of course, of everyone here, we wish both best of luck. And that was Mindy Walker, a former White House advisor and Republican strategist, and Joelle Rubin, a former State Department advisor. Thank you both for your insights. And as we approach November the 5th, the United States stands as a pivotal moment with the world watching closely. That wraps up our episode today for In Focus. Remember to stay updated by following Q News on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at Q News EG for the latest developments. Thank you for watching.